Every World Cup produces its share of controversy, but every so often, a storyline emerges that manages to pull in fans who normally have nothing to do with the sport at all. And that is exactly what has happened over the past several days with the growing scandal surrounding Argentina at this year's tournament. What started as frustration from a heartbroken Egyptian team quickly snowballed into accusations of bias, a formal complaint to FIFA, and a fiery public response from football's governing body that left American fans across the internet stunned by just how directly FIFA chose to fire back. In this video, we are going to walk through exactly how this entire controversy unfolded, break down FIFA's response piece by piece, and explore why American audiences who have spent this entire summer falling in love with the World Cup suddenly found themselves questioning the integrity of the tournament they had grown to trust. So let us dig into everything that happened. To understand why this controversy exploded the way it did, you have to go back to Argentina's stunning round of 16 comeback against Egypt, a match that on the surface looked like one of the most thrilling moments of the entire tournament. Egypt had taken a commanding 2-goal lead and appeared destined for their first ever World Cup quarter-final appearance, a milestone that would have meant everything to a program that had never come close to this stage before. Instead, the defending champions clawed their way back with 3 goals in the final minutes, completing a comeback that stunned neutral viewers and sent Argentina through to the quarter-finals at Egypt's expense. For most fans watching, it looked like a classic underdog heartbreak story, the kind of dramatic finish that World Cups are famous for producing. But almost immediately after the final whistle, the tone shifted from admiration to outrage, as Egyptian players and coaching staff began publicly questioning whether the result had been influenced by something far more troubling than simple bad luck. The controversy centered on 2 specific moments during the match that Egyptian officials believed had unfairly swung the result in Argentina's favor. Early in the game, Mostafa Zico appeared to give Egypt an even more commanding lead, only for the goal to be overturned after a VAR review identified a foul in the build-up. Then, in the closing minutes, Egypt argued that a foul on their star forward Mohamed Salah inside the penalty area should have been reviewed before Argentina scored the decisive winner, a call that never came. In the aftermath, Egypt's head coach did not hold back, publicly accusing the officiating crew of being influenced by outside pressure and suggesting that keeping Lionel Messi and Argentina in the tournament carried a financial incentive that shaped the decisions being made on the field. Egypt's star forward went even further, publicly stating that he believed the entire tournament had been rigged in Argentina's favor, a claim that spread rapidly across social media and set the stage for what was about to become a full-blown international story. Before we get further into how this controversy escalated, take a second to hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed, because we are covering every twist in this story as it continues to develop. It genuinely helps the channel and only takes a moment. Alright, let us get back into the story. Rather than simply venting frustration to the media, the Egyptian Football Association took the extraordinary step of filing a formal complaint with FIFA, demanding an investigation into the officiating crew and requesting that referee Francois Letexier and his entire team be removed from any further involvement in the tournament. The federation argued that the combination of the disallowed goal and the missed penalty review amounted to a pattern of inconsistent and unfair officiating that directly cost them a place in the quarter-finals. This was not a minor procedural complaint, it was a direct challenge to the integrity of one of the biggest matches of the tournament, and it forced FIFA into a position where staying silent was no longer really an option. For several days, FIFA declined to comment publicly on the complaint, a silence that only added fuel to the growing speculation online, with fans and commentators alike wondering whether the governing body was quietly reviewing the situation or simply hoping the controversy would fade away on its own. When FIFA's response finally arrived, it did not come in the form of a quiet internal memo. It came through an unusually direct and forceful statement from the organization's chief refereeing officer. In an interview published on FIFA's own website, the refereeing chief firmly rejected the accusations of bias, insisting that match officials had operated with complete independence throughout the tournament. He acknowledged that criticism of officiating decisions has always been part of football, but he specifically condemned what he described as unfounded allegations, questioning the integrity of the officials involved. Going a step further, he addressed the specific insinuation that FIFA leadership might have influenced the outcome, stating plainly that nobody could claim FIFA's refereeing operations were subject to outside influence, not even from FIFA's own president. That level of directness, naming the accusation almost head-on rather than dancing around it, is exactly what caught so many American viewers off guard, because it read less like a bureaucratic non-answer and more like football's governing body drawing a hard line in public. Beyond the broader statement defending the integrity of the officials, FIFA also went into surprising technical detail defending the two specific decisions at the center of the controversy. On the disallowed goal, the refereeing chief explained that video review had correctly identified a foul committed in the build-up to the play, emphasizing that a foul is a foul regardless of whether it appeared obvious in real time, and that the video assistant referee system exists precisely to catch these kinds of missed infractions. On the non-call involving the challenge on Salah, he described the contact as normal football contact rather than a foul, drawing a distinction between an opponent stepping directly on a player's foot, which would be a clear infraction, and a defender who touches the ball first before making incidental contact, which under the rules does not constitute a penalty. This kind of detailed decision-by-decision breakdown is relatively rare for FIFA, and the fact that the organization chose to lay out its reasoning so explicitly suggested just how seriously it was taking the pressure building around this controversy. What made this entire situation even more explosive is that Egypt's complaint did not exist in isolation. It landed in the middle of a much larger and more serious controversy, already swirling around the Argentine Football Association. Around the same time as the Egypt controversy, reports emerged that federal investigators in the United States had opened an inquiry into the Argentine Federation over allegations of fraud and money laundering, examining how hundreds of millions of dollars had allegedly moved through American banks and companies connected to the organization. While this financial investigation was technically separate from the on-field officiating dispute, the timing made it almost impossible for fans and commentators to view the two stories in isolation from one another. For a growing number of skeptical viewers, the financial allegations against the Argentine Federation made Egypt's claims of favorable treatment feel less like a conspiracy theory and more like part of a broader pattern worth taking seriously, even though FIFA and Argentine officials strongly denied any connection between the two situations. For a summer defined largely by joy, discovery, and casual American fans falling in love with the World Cup for the first time, this controversy landed as an unwelcome dose of cynicism. Social media reactions from American viewers ranged from genuine confusion to outright disbelief, with many admitting they had never paid close enough attention to international soccer politics to understand just how contentious officiating controversies could become at this level of the sport. Some fans expressed frustration that a tournament they had been thoroughly enjoying now came with an asterisk hanging over one of its most dramatic matches, while others pushed back against the rigging claims entirely, pointing out that dramatic comebacks and controversial calls have always been part of high-stakes soccer long before this particular tournament. What united most of the reaction, regardless of which side people landed on, was surprise at how forcefully FIFA chose to respond, with many American commentators noting that the governing body's willingness to directly address and reject the bias accusations felt unusually transparent compared to how these situations are typically handled behind closed doors. As the tournament moves further into its knockout stages, the fallout from this controversy shows no signs of fully settling down. Egypt's complaint remains under review, and questions continue to swirl about whether FIFA will take any further action regarding the officiating crew involved in the match, even after the strong public defense issued on their behalf. Meanwhile, the separate financial investigation into the Argentine Federation continues to develop independently, with American federal investigators reportedly examining bank records and corporate documents tied to the hundreds of millions of dollars in question. Argentina, for its part, continues to advance in the tournament, focused on defending its title, while Argentine officials have firmly denied any wrongdoing in both the officiating controversy and the ongoing financial inquiry. Whether either situation produces any formal consequences before the tournament concludes remains genuinely uncertain, and that uncertainty is a large part of why fans, American and otherwise, have found themselves unable to look away. At the end of the day, this controversy is a reminder that major tournaments rarely stay confined to what happens between the lines on the field. Between Egypt's formal complaint, FIFA's unusually direct public defense of its officials, and the far more serious financial investigation unfolding in the background, this story has become one of the defining subplots of the entire World Cup, whether fans wanted that or not. American audiences who spent this summer discovering the beauty of the sport are now also discovering the messier realities that come with it, the politics, the accusations, and the institutional pressure that exist just beneath the surface of every major tournament. Whether this controversy fades quietly once the final whistle blows on this year's competition, or continues to shape conversations about FIFA's credibility for years to come, one thing is clear. American fans are paying closer attention to the sport's inner workings than ever before. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you are subscribed so you catch our next video the moment new developments come out, because this story is still very much unfolding.